For your own protection, for all mu'mineen and mu'minat, their protection around the world, for the shuhada, ulama, sulaha, anyone who served Islam, Fatiha. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه وأعوذ به من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد والثناء لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما سيدي ومولاي بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم. Condolences to all of you and your families on these nights. I just want to clarify, it almost seemed like some people were forced to stay after the Majlis. So I just want to say it's okay. If you have something to do or you'd rather be somewhere else, please don't feel pressured. So if that is the case, or at any time you feel like you need to go, please feel free. There's no pressure. No pressure. Before I begin, I would like to thank all the organizers, anyone who's put in efforts for this to be possible. May Allah inshallah accept all your efforts and accept this form of ibadat from all of us. Bibarakat salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So the topic that was chosen for these 3 nights inshallah that I'll be at your service is Karbala and self-reflection, the matrix of perfection. And when I sent this to some people, they were like, what does that mean? So inshallah, I thought I would spend some time maybe talking about the topic itself. So there's various things over here. There's Karbala, understanding Karbala. There's self-reflection. What do I mean by that? What does matrix mean? And what does perfection mean? One matrix I know all of you know about, so we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about the movie. But what does it mean in this context? In Surah A'raf, which is Surah number 7, verse number 175 and 176, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاتْلُ عَلَيْهِمْ نَبَأَ الَّذِي آتَيْنَاهُ آيَاتِنَا فَانْسَلَخَ مِنْهَا فَأَتْبَعَهُ الشَّيْطَانِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse says that tell them, O Prophet, tell them about the people who we gave our clear signs to. We gave them our clear signs, فَانْسَلَخَ مِنْهَا, but they turned away from those clear signs. And then what happened after that? فَأَتْبَعَهُ الشَّيْطَانِ, and then shaitan started following them. So you see the entire imagery, right? There's a person or a group of people who Allah gave clear signs to. Those people turned away from them or ignored them. Shaitan started following them. Shaitan started following them. فَكَانَ مِنَ الْغَاوِينَ, so they became of the people who were misguided. So this is verse number 175. Look at 176. وَلَوْ شِئْنَا لَرَفَعْنَاهُ بِهَا. Although if we would have wanted, we would have raised their levels with those ayat that we had sent them. We sent them ayat, they turned away from it. But if we truly wanted and we negated free will, وَلَوْ شِئْنَا لَرَفَعْنَاهُ بِهَا. We could have raised him with those signs. وَلَكِنَّهُ أَخْلَدَ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ. But the issue is the person, they were stuck to this world. They were stuck to this world. They didn't want to move away. They didn't want to get over this world. They were stuck to this world. وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَى. Along with that, instead of following and doing ittiba' of Allah's commands in His ayat, وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَى. They followed what? Their own carnal desires. They followed their own nafs. And this part is a little rough, the next part of the verse. And the only reason I have the audacity, ajallakum Allah, to read this is because it's in the Quran. Okay? And look at how the same Rahman, the same Rahim, the same Ghafoor, the same Ghaffar, who loves us more than our mothers. Not just once, 1,000,000 times more than our mothers and all the mothers put together. This same Allah is giving an example. Okay? فَمَثَلُهُ كَمَثَلِ الْكَلْبِ. The person that he's talking about in the verses, he's like, the analogy of this person, the example of this person is like that of a dog. Ajallakum Allah. Example of a dog. And it says, then it continues, إِن تَحْمِلْ عَلَيْهِ يَلْهَثْ وَإِن تَتْرُكْهُ يَلْهَثْ. Whether you try to scare this dog, it stands there with its tongue sticking out, or if you just leave it alone, it still stands there with its tongue sticking out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that some people are just like this dog. Ajallakum Allah. ذَلِكَ مَثَلُ الْقَوْمِ الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا. This is the example of the people who reject our signs. Who reject our signs. فَقْصُصِ الْقَصَصِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Tell them, O Prophet, about the stories of the previous prophets, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ, so they can think about them. Don't tell them so they can fall asleep. It's not their bedtime stories. Tell them, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Okay, Maulana, what? You said Karbala, self-reflection, this, that. Why you? What's the connection? These are principles stated in the Quran. They don't, and the verses, obviously, every verse has its sha'n and nuzul, right? It was revealed at a certain instance. But they're overall principles that we can extract from the Quran. One of the principles that we understand over here, let's start backwards. فَقْصُصِ الْقَصَصِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. O Prophet, tell them about the stories so they can think. So they can think. What we understand from the verse is that some of these stories can also be clear signs. Some of these stories can also be clear signs. So I tell you a story about a prophet. I tell you a story about a prophet. Not you. You tell me a story. Let's put it. You tell me a story about the prophet. I say, yeah, okay. فَانْسَلَخَ مِنْهَا. And I turn away from that story. What does the Quran say? If I turn away from these stories, فَأَتْبَعُ الشَّيْطَانِ. Shaitan's going to come after me. Why? Because I'm rejecting these stories. I'm not giving importance to these clear signs of God. فَأَتْبَعُ الشَّيْطَانِ. And then it continues. It says it's like a dog and so on and so on. Now, when we come, are these verses restricted to the stories that were in the Quran? No, it's a general principle in the Quran. If you and I, if the mu'mineen, if the lovers of Abi Abdullah today take Karbala and Ashura as if it's just a narration of history. So we come, we talk about what happened on Ashura. Everyone, even the kids in our communities, can tell you what happened with Hazrat Qasim, what happened with Hazrat Ali Akbar, what happened with Ona Muhammad, alayhimus salam jami'an, what happened with every single person. They can tell you when they got into Karbala, when the water was stopped, what happened, how it happened, what did Umar ibn Sa'd say, what did this person say. Most of our kids know that. Is that a bad thing? No, that's a really good thing. That's necessary. But is that enough is the question. And the answer is no, it's not. And if I take Karbala and Ashura and Muharram and I deal with it as if it's just a cultural activity, I come in, oh, what do Shia people do? What do people who want to commemorate this? Oh, they wear black during Muharram. What else do they do? Oh, they go to their masjids and Imam Barga. What else do they do? A person comes and speaks and they cry. And what else? They do matam and they leave and they go home. They usually get a box of biryani or halim and it's very important for them. And this is what they do. Okay, then what happens? They do this for 10 days. Then what happens? 11th day, people usually cool down. They want to go back to their lives. They want to go back to their work. They want to go back to their school. They want to go back to their business. Okay, so what exactly do they do? I don't know what they do. Are they like new changed people on the 11th of Muharram? No, they're the same old people. Do they gain inspiration from Karbala? I don't know. Do they? Hundreds and thousands of majalis. Can you show tangible results from them? I don't know. I'm not, it's not rhetorical. I really don't know because I don't live in Islamabad. I don't know what happens over here. But can you see tangible results? Are we people who are لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ فَاقْصُصِ الْقَصَص لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ? Do we have people who are coming and extracting these principles for us? This is why Karbala happened. This is what happened in Karbala. This is the philosophy why Abi Abdullah alayhi salatu wasalam came out with the women, came out with his 4-year-old, came out with his 6-month-old in his arms. Is he not going to come ask me on the Day of Judgment? You're a lover of mine, aren't you? You used to debate online and tell other people of other sects that we are the truth and we are the haqq and we are the this. What did you do for it? Did you do anything significant for it? God forbid that the mu'min, a lover, a shi'a of Amirul Mu'mineen, a lover of Abi Abdullah alayhi salatu wasalam, would be a misdaq of this verse, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that we showed them a clear sign. We showed them the biggest possible sacrifice in the history of time. But the Shias, they don't wake up. They don't wake up. They're just busy with their, I gotta do this for my mama, I have to have this tabarruk and this speaker and this matandari and this. All of that is very important. Don't get me wrong, all of that is very important. But those are, no matter how important they are, they're still the means to get to a goal. If we're stuck in the means, and before we know it, Hazrat Israel comes and he's like, time's up. The same Rahman, the same Rahim, the same Ghafoor, the same Ghaffar. If I tell him, can I get another chance? He clearly says in the Quran, Kalla. Absolutely not. I gave you signs. I gave you the Prophet. The Prophet told you that no Prophet has ever been bothered and oppressed. Ma udhiya nabiyyun kama udhit. The Prophet ﷺ says this, that there's no Prophet who was bothered and oppressed like I was oppressed. You know the story of the Prophet's daughter. You know the story of Amir al-Mu'mineen. You know the story of Imam al-Hassan, forced to do a sulh. You know the story of Karbala. You know the story of Sayid al-Sajani. You know the story of Kufa and Sham. You know the story of what happened after that in Baghdad and Samarra. And you've heard all that. All these sacrifices were so the deen can be saved. So you and I don't fall back into slumber, into neglect, into inattentiveness, neglect. But am I dealing with these clear signs and clear sacrifice for the deen of Islam the way I should? Would he, if Imam al-Hussein and the entire Ahl al-Bayt that I love and we all love, if they come on the Day of Judgment, look me in the eye and be like, okay, you loved us, what did you do about it? What did you do about it? I'll be like, I used to have Majalis. What else could I have done? And they will ask, did you not know that Hussein's head on the spear was reciting the Quran? Did you not care about opening the Quran and learning the Quran? Did you not read the verse where it says, وَقَالَ الرَّسُولُ يَا رَبِّ إِنَّ قَوْمِ اتَّخَذُوا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ مَهْجُورًا? That, oh Allah, oh my Lord, the Prophet says, our Prophet, the one we love, Rahmatul lil Alameen, he's going to complain to Allah, Ya Rabbi, inna qawmi, this qawm of mine, these people of mine, these my ummah, they didn't give importance to the Quran. Would Imam al-Hussein not ask, I was reading the Quran on the spear. Did he not care about opening the Quran? Did he not read, it says, فَقْصُصِ الْقَصَصِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ? Did you not read, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَىٰ قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا? Do they not do tadabbur of the Quran, or are their hearts just locked? They're just being happy with what they do. Do we have answers for these things? Right? This is why Karbala is important. Because Karbala is the most beautiful manifestation of sacrificing everything you have for saving the deen, for saving Islam. Is this something that Abi Abdullah alayhi salam just pulled out of his pocket? No, explicit verses of the Quran. قُلْ إِنْ كَانَ آبَاؤُكُمْ وَأَبْنَاؤُكُمْ وَإِخْوَانُكُمْ وَعَشِيرَتُكُمْ وَأَمْوَالٌ اقْتَرَفْتُمُوهَا. All of these things, the Quran is telling me, listen, if your fathers, your sons, your brothers, your families, the money that you've collected, وَتِجَارَةٌ تَخْشَوْنَ كَسَادَهَا, the businesses that you've set up and you're scared of losing, وَمَسَاكِنُ تَرْضَوْنَهَا, and the houses that you're so comfortable living in. Any of the explicit verses of the Quran, Surah Tawbah, if any of these things, أَحَبَّ إِلَيْكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَجِهَادٍ فِي سَبِيلِهِ, if any of these things, your fathers, or everything that I said, is more dear to you than Allah or His Rasul or striving in jihad in His path, فَتَرَبَّصُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ, then just wait and see. These are verses of the Quran. You guys realize it's not fiction I'm making up. It's not from my pocket. It's from the Quran. Even the Shia version of the Quran has this verse. Even the Shia version has this. So you can go home and check it out. That's a joke, by the way. Right? That's a joke. I hope I didn't confuse anyone. There's only one Quran. فَتَرَبَّصُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ. Then wait and see until Allah passes His command. Explicit verse of the Quran is telling every humankind, every human being that, listen, when it comes to Allah and His Prophet and striving in His way, nothing is too important. And who better to understand that than the grandson of the Holy Prophet, than Abi Abdullah alayhi salatu wasalam? So should it be a surprise to me? Should it be a surprise to me that they came with all the women? They didn't care about their houses. They didn't care about their properties. They didn't care about anything. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants this, رِضَى اللَّهِ رِضَانَ أَهْلُ الْبَيْتِ. Whatever Allah, did Abi Abdullah not say this when he was coming out of Medina? Whatever Allah wants, we're okay with that. If Allah wants to see me maqtul, mazbuh, killed and slaughtered on the plains of Karbala, then I'm okay with that. Muhammad ibn Hanafiya asked Abi Abdullah, but what about the women? He says, Allah wants to see them taken captive, wants to see them as prisoners. If Allah wants it, who am I? And that is why even after all the challenges of the day, in his sajda, after all the challenges, رِضًا بِقَضَائِكَ وَتَسْلِيمًا لِأَمْرِكَ. This is why Karbala is important. And it's important for us to look at Karbala not just as a narration of history, not just as something we have to do every day, every year in Muharram and Safar, But what's expected of you and I is to extract principles, to live Karbala, to become Husseini, not just to Hussein. Hussein is very important, because that is a spark. That's the means for me to become a true Husseini. These majalis, this matam, this marsiya, this julus, this, all of these things. And the passion in the Pakistani people, honestly, is almost unmatched. The passion that they have, the love that they have for the Ahlul Bayt, the love that they have for the deen. But we have to make sure it's channeled in a proper way. It's channeled in a proper way. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So we've talked about Karbala. We still have self-reflection, matrix, and perfection. When we talk about matrix of something, it means that something from within which something else originates. Okay? So now, if we understand that, then if we understood Karbala and we coupled it with self-reflection, that will lay the foundation. That will set up the scene for me being able to reach perfection. That's what matrix means. Okay? So Karbala and self-reflection, if we put those two together, it will give me the basis. It will give me the foundation. It will give me whatever I need to be able to reach perfection. That's what it means, that it's the matrix of perfection. Now, when we talk about perfection, what does perfection mean? When we talk about success, what does success mean? If you open up the dictionary, it will say something along the lines of being able to achieve the goals. But then it says that you have set for yourself. That you have set for yourself. So your perfection, your success, and my perfection and my success could be very different. How nice, how pluralistic. Everyone is okay, everyone is nice. There's no ultimate reality, there's no ultimate truth in this world. Whereas the Quran is saying what? That yes, there is a reality. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the haqq. Allah is the only haqq. Allah is the truth. The path of Allah is the truth. That is the only haqq. And everything else that I've created, whether it's in this world or another galaxy, or whether it's within you or it's on the outside, whatever you can think about in existence, is for one purpose and one purpose only. It's for you to be able to reach your ultimate goal. Don't we talk about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, like, you know, for the love of the Prophet and His nur, I created this and I created everything. And we talk about that the love of, you know, the Prophet and Amir al-Mu'mineen, and you've heard the hadith. So what does that mean? Just for the sake of Amir al-Mu'mineen? Or the path of Amir al-Mu'mineen? Did He send him as a guide for you and I, so we can follow his footsteps? Amir al-Mu'mineen himself says, "Man yuhibbuna faly'amal bi'amalina." Whoever claims to love me, whoever claims to love us, whoever is a lover of us, if you want to be a true lover, فَلْيَعْمَلْ بِعَمَلِنَا. Make sure you act according to our actions. Don't just cry over us. That's good. But you're worth more than that. You're ashraf al-makhluqat. You're the best of the creations. You've been blessed with the best of the blessings. You've been blessed with the intellect. You've been blessed with Iman. You've been blessed with the Holy Prophet. You've been blessed with the progeny of the Holy Prophet, the family of the Holy Prophet, and their love. Expectations for you and I are much higher, because there's another principle that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, that if He blesses someone with a blessing, He's going to ask about it. He's going to ask about it. If He gave you the intellect, He's going to ask you about the intellect. If He gave you Iman, He's going to ask about Iman. If He gave you the love of Hussein, He's going to ask you about love of Hussein. Whatever He has given me, He's going to ask me about it. That's the justice of Allah. Yes, Allah is Rahim and Rahman. That's why He gave me the blessings. But He's also Adil. He's also just. He's going to ask me, if I gave you the blessings, then what did you do with that? So it's not just a walk in the park. There's questions and answers that we need to deal with. There's questions and answers that we need to deal with. So when we talk about perfection, it cannot be something that's so pluralistic that everyone defines it for themselves. No, there's one perfection that the Quran has defined. There's one purpose that the Quran has defined. Quran has created you and I with one purpose in mind, and that is for you and me to be able to gain that proximity of Allah. For me and you to be able to reach that perfection. For me and you to be able to reach a level where we become manifestation of Allah's attributes. How high of a level is that? Allama Tabatabai rahmatullah alayh. You can recite a salawat if you want. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He says that the Prophet ﷺ has invited every single person in this world, in this existence, to every step that he has taken himself. Every step that he has taken himself. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. The Quran explicitly telling you that the best of your role models is not on TV, is not on Instagram, is not on there, is not in there. لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. Right? It's in the Holy Prophet that you have the best of the role models. And Allama says that there was a point where when the Prophet was going for Mi'raj, what happened? Who was traveling with him? Jibreel alayhi salam. What happened when he got really close? What did Jibreel say to the Prophet? He said, I can't go any further. I'm going to burn. And Allama is saying, Allama Tabatabai, great mufassir of the Quran, is saying that every step that the Prophet has taken, he expects you and he's invited you to take those steps as well. Meaning what? That you and I have that potential to be able to reach a point where Jibreel comes and tells you, slow down, I can't go beyond this. See what Allah has in mind and look at what I've busied myself with. See what the potential of Karbala is and look at what I've minimized it to. See, these are realities. These are realities of this world. Realities of this world. And I say this often and I'll say it again. I don't know who the issue with is. Is it the speakers or is it the public? The speakers say this is what the public wants. They want a nada over here, a nada over there. If you don't say that, they say, "Theek thi, lekin maza nahi aaya." And then the public says, how is it our fault? This is what the speakers are telling us. So I don't know. But one of us needs to figure this out. So everyone figures it out and we save everyone. Because otherwise it's a downward spiral. If we, and the unfortunate reality for most people, most mu'mineen, at least in this country, and tell me if I'm wrong, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. Most overwhelming majority of the mu'mineen in this country only get education of Islam through Majalis. Is it true? It's true. Can you teach the first year of medical school through a mimbar? No, you can't. Can you teach anything, any systematic education through the mimbar? No, you can't. Why? Because from the mimbar, the means that are being used is khitaba. Is khitaba. In khitaba, you have to make sure your audience is with you. You have to make sure they're awake. You have to make sure, and so on and so forth. And there's certain techniques and this and that. But in systematic education, most of the people in the class are falling asleep anyways, right? No, I'm just kidding. But there's a means for doing systematic education. Now, if the overwhelming majority in our country of mu'mineen don't have any formal education, don't have any formal understanding of the deen, the only place where they get information is also, it's Majalis or barakah, don't get me wrong. There's no doubt about that. This is a very Mubarak gathering. Any gathering for the zikr of Abi Abdullah alayhi salatu wasalam. We're talking about beyond that. We're talking about the human has an intellect and has a heart. Yes, it works really well from a heart. It gets me to love Amir al-Mu'mineen. It gets me to love Abi Abdullah. But does it explain the foundations of religion to me? And if it doesn't, I've spent 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, now I'm 70, 80 years old. I've never heard. I've never sat in formal education. How am I expected to learn my religion? How am I expected to be able to face the difficulties of this life? How am I supposed to do that if I don't have a foundation in my religion, if I don't have a foundation in my aqaid, in my belief system? Every difficulty shakes my faith. Questions, youth have thousands and thousands of questions, don't have anywhere to go to get answers. Because the only place is the majlis. In the majlis, as soon as the Maulana is done, Maulana leaves. Maulana comes 2 minutes before member, leaves 2 seconds after member. Where are the youth going to ask? So what's the solution for our education? How are we going to learn our religion? How are we going to move forward? Because what's planned for you and I is to understand the religion, rationalize the religion, feel the religion, take inspiration from Amir al-Mu'mineen, take inspiration from Karbala, be able to put 2 and 2 together. These are the principles of the Quran. This is what Hussein did in Karbala. These are the principles of Quran. This is why Amir al-Mu'mineen stayed in her house. These are the principles of the Quran. This is why Imam al-Mujtaba did the Sul. These are the principles, and so on and so forth. If I'm not able to see that, how will I ever take the Ma'asumeen as my role models? It's overwhelming, isn't it? It's overwhelming. Because I think I'm doing just fine. But sometimes when you read the Quran, it seems like, no, maybe I'm not doing just so fine. So Karbala, the importance, perfection is the manifestation of Allah's attributes. You reach such a point that even we reach a point where Jibreel can't reach us. We reach a point that even not just losing a job, not just losing a house, not just losing a parent, not just losing a child, everything, no matter what it is, I am also able to say, Ridan biqada'ika wa tasliman li amrik. Allah, I am a follower of Hussein. Yes, my sacrifices can't reach the sacrifices of Abi Abdullah. But I'm on that path and I'm trying. My faith doesn't shake if I just lose a job. My faith doesn't shake if my bank account gets empty. No, I'm on the path regardless. If you bless me with blessings, alhamdulillah. If you test me with taking away the blessings, ridan biqada'ika wa tasliman li amrik. And these are not things that I said it so easily that I can just start practicing it. It takes an entire lifetime to practice these things. But I need to know about it before I start practicing it. So in this discussion, where does the self-reflection come in? If you said a salawat, I want to share a few ahadith about salawat. The Holy Prophet tells Abu Zar, Ya Aba Dhar, Hasib nafsaka qabla an tuhasab. Oh Abu Zar, take account of your own actions before the time for taking account of the action comes. Before someone else takes account. فَإِنَّهُ أَهْوَنُ لِحِسَابِ غَدًا وَزِنْ نَفْسَكَ قَبْلَ أَن تُوزَنَ. So he says, listen, Abu Zar, do two things I'm telling you. One, take account of your actions before your account is taken. This will be much easier for you on the day of judgment. This will be much easier for you for the Yawmul Hasra, when everyone will have hasrat, when everyone will be worried, when no one will be helping anyone. What is the Prophet saying? That if you want to be easier on that day, start taking account of your own actions. Because there will be a day when the voice will be called out and will say, Iqra kitabak, read your own book. And it's much easier for me if I've read that book before, if I've taken account of that book, and I've corrected whatever needs to be corrected. And the Holy Prophet is saying, listen, weigh your actions before the time comes when your actions are weighed. Don't just coast along in life. Don't just coast along in life. Don't get lost in life. حُبُّ الدُّنْيَا رَأْسُ كُلِّ خَطِيَّةٍ. The hadith says that the attachment to the world, the love of the world is the root of all sins, of all mistakes. Of all mistakes. Right? So this is something that I need to worry about. And this is something that Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salatu wasalam also says in a hadith. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil. He's telling his companion, Ya Hisham, laysa minna. Laysa minna. They're not of us. O Hisham. Who, O Imam? Man lam yuhasib nafsahu fi kulli yawm. A person who doesn't take account of their actions every single day. Laysa minna. Imam al-Kadhim is saying they're not of us. See how important these things are? See how important these things are? The prophets talked about it. The prophet is 7 generations before Imam al-Kadhim. 7 generations later, he's repeating the same thing. So do we think that when our Imam comes back, he's going to want something else? Is he going to be happy with whatever we're doing? Oh, these are my little kids who've been waiting for me for so long. No, the Imam loves us, there's no doubt about it. But the Imam doesn't bend his principles. Because his principles are the principles of Allah, are the principles of Quran, are the principles that were not just randomly made. They were made with having the knowledge of the fitrah that you and I exist with, of the system that Allah has. And these are the principles that are the most conducive principles. The sharia that's been given to you, the akhlaqiyat that have been given to you, the seerah of the imams, the seerah of the Holy Prophet, everything that's been given to you and I is the most conducive and perfect for me and you, for you and I to be able to reach perfection. But if I don't give it importance, if I don't think about it, if I don't open the Quran, if I don't listen to the Quran, if I don't understand the Quran, if I don't contemplate the Quran, if I don't think about Karbala, if I don't contemplate Karbala, if I don't contemplate Ashura, those true benefits, I might not be able to reach. And there's so much that Abi Abdullah can give you and I, that Imam al-Hussein can give you and I, that it's beyond our imagination. Beyond our imagination. There's a hadith, and also our 12th Imam Ajallahu Ta'ala Farajah Sharif mentions it in Ziyara Nahiya Muqaddasa. He says salam on that. on the one who Allah put shifa'a in his turba. My salam to one who Allah made the dua under his qubba something that he's going to answer right away. And there's a hadith as well where one of the imams says that because of all the sacrifices that Abi Abdullah gave in the path of Allah, Allah gave him 4 blessings. One was the shifa in his turba. One was the dua under his dome. One was the what? The imams from his lineage. I forgot the 4th as well. Inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And the 4th one is that when you go for a ziyarah, it's not counted from your life. So why did Allah give this? Because He gave in the way of Allah. Yes, we will never be able to reach that, but as much as you and I are able to give in the path of Allah, He will bless you and I. He is the Maliki Yawmiddin. He is the Rabbul Alameen. Not what we got ourselves busy with. Not what we got ourselves busy with. There's an alim, was an alim, Ayatollah Sayyid Ahmad Khansari. Very holy personality. And he was a marja of his time. He was based out of Tehran. He had studied in different places, but he was in Tehran. After Ayatollah Burujardi, he became one of the, along with Ayatollah Gulpaygani, he was one of the marjas over there. There's a person who goes to him and says, "You're our marja, you're a holy person." By the way, he's also buried right next to Allama Tabatabai in Qum. So if you ever go to Qum, very close to Bibi Zari is the grave of Allama Tabatabai, and stuck to that is the grave of Ayatollah Sayyid Ahmad Khansari. A person goes to them and says, "You're a holy personality, you're a marja, you're everything. I need help from you." And he says, "What? How can I help you?" He says, "I have a brother who has crossed every limit that you can think of. He fights with people, he's a street fighter, he's a gangster, he drinks, he gambles, he does this, he does..." There's nothing that he doesn't do. Nothing that he doesn't do. And I want you to give him some advice. Ayatollah says, Khansari says, "You know, the way you're describing your brother, I don't think I can help you. I don't think my advice is going to help." And then the person says, "Okay, so tell me, what am I supposed to do? You're the marja, you're the arif, you're the holy person, you're the everything. Tell me." He says, "One thing comes to mind." He thinks for a little bit, and he said, "One thing comes to mind. Try this. If it works, then bring him to me, and I'll also give him some advice." He said, "Okay, what's that?" He says, "Take him to Karbala. Take him to Karbala and see if he, inside the haram of Abi Abdullah, if he cries, then know that there's still hope. And there's still some nur in his heart. There's some nur in his soul. And then bring him back, and I will give him some advice. But if he doesn't cry in the haram, then know that there's no hope. Just let him be how it is. It's too late now." A month and a half or so later, the person comes back to Ayatollah Khansari. And he says, "So what happened?" He says, "He didn't want to go to Karbala. Very reluctant. But somehow I took him." He's like, "Okay, so what happened? Tell me." He said he didn't want to go, and then when we got there, we're walking to the haram. And he's just busy. Like me. When I'm walking to the haram, there's this store over here, there's this dukaan over here, there's this being sold over here, this being sold over there. He's just looking, and he's busy with this thing and that thing. And perhaps he's thinking that, I don't know if it's going to work. And then he says, so he was just busy with the world as we're walking to the haram of Abi Abdullah. And we walked into the haram, He didn't cry, but his head was down. And then we got closer. When we got near the Zaidi, he didn't cry. He started wailing. He started shouting. He started screaming. He started crying on the top of his lungs. Top of his lungs. And Ayatollah Khan Sari says, that's beautiful. That's amazing. So now you can bring him and I'll give him the advice now. He says, oh, that's not necessary anymore. He says, how come? He's like, when he was there near the Zaidi, I told him, listen, my dear brother, you have so much love for Abi Abdullah. You have so much love for the sacrifices he made. Why don't you just make an ahd with him that you're going to leave everything? And he said, that was it. He made the ahd. He made the ahd. So Mu'mineen, you are here with the love of Abi Abdullah, crying for Abi Abdullah. Anything that you want, they have the potential to take you and me. They, not potential, that's their duty, to take you and me by our hands. A person who broke every law that was possible. Ya Abu Abdullah, I'm bad, but maybe not that bad. And I've come to your majlis in the hope that you take me by my hand. These are the people who can purify you and me. These are the people who can make you and I, even if I haven't done anything so far, take me to that perfection. Help me understand Karbala. Help me understand the Quran. Help me translate that into action. These are the people who have that potential. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Sayidi wa ya Mawlai. Sallallahu alayk ya There were so many sacrifices that Abi Abdullah and his family gave in Karbala. Not just the Bani Hashim, not just the Ashab, but even the children of Karbala gave so many sacrifices. Look at the ma'rifat of Qasim. He's dying to go for Shahada. And he's asking his uncle, oh uncle, will I be of those who will be killed tomorrow? And he says, كيف الموت عندك يا قاسم? Qasim, how is death to you? أحلى من العسل يا عما. Sweeter than honey. What did Qasim understand about this life in 13 years of age that I haven't been able to understand? Look at this ma'rifat. Look at this ma'rifat. They say that when Muslim ibn Aqil passed away in Kufa and the news reached Abi Abdullah, he took Muslim's daughter and sat her in his lap and started caressing her head. And she says, oh uncle, why are you treating me like an orphan? Because your father is gone. The messenger of Abi Abdullah, everyone left him all alone in the streets of Kufa. Perhaps Abi Abdullah was also trying to show people that, listen, in this journey, if you ever see a young girl who's separated from their father, then make sure you treat them like this with love. Make sure you treat him like this with love. The tests of Sakina. The tests of Sakina. Having to say al-wida to her brother Akbar. Seeing the alam of her uncle Abbas going towards the river. coming back, and then it shakes. And then it gets control, and then it shakes again. Oh Sakina, you could just see the alam shaking, but do you know what Abbas was going through? The Mal'oon severed his right hand, and then he tried to control the alam, and they severed his left hand. And some of the ulama say that then Abbas was carrying the alam with his cut hand stuck to his chest. You know how dear Abbas was to Sakina? Test after test for this 4-year-old girl. 4-year-old girl. And then a time came when she sees her Baba on top of the horse. Abi Abdullah, Imam Hussein خیمے میں آئے الوداع کے لیے. بیبیوں کا بچوں کا گریے کی آواز بلند ہو گئی. الوداع کیا, باہر آئے, ذوالجناح پہ سوار, چلنا چاہتے ہیں کہ ذوالجناح نہیں ہلتا. اے ذوالجناح, تو جانتا ہے یہ میرا آخری وقت ہے. شاید ذوالجناح نے اپنی گردن نیچے کر کے اشارہ کرنے کی کوشش کی, اے مولا میں تو آپ کا خادم ہوں, لیکن یہ بچی اجازت نہیں دیتی. یہ بچی اجازت نہیں دیتی. مقتل کہتا ہے کہ جب امام روانہ ہوئے میدان کی طرف تو ایسی جگہ پہ جا کے انہوں نے جنگ کرنا شروع کی کہ زیادہ دور نہیں تھی خیمے گاہ سے, کیونکہ جانتے تھے کہ جو ملعون ہیں, یہ جو لعین ہیں, ان کی نظریں خیموں کے اوپر ہیں. اور ہر تھوڑی دیر کے بعد مقتل میں لکھا ہے کہ امام واپس آ کے خیمے کے در پہ لا حول ولا قوت الا باللہ, کہ زینب کے دل کو ذرا سکون ہو جائے, کہ 4 سالہ بچی کے دل کو کچھ سکون ہو جائے. ایک وقت ایسا آیا کہ خیمے کے در پہ ذوالجناح کی آواز آئی. سکینہ نے جو در اٹھا کے دیکھا, واہ محمدہ, واہ حسینہ, اے پھوپھی اماں, ذوالجناح تو آ گیا لیکن میرے بابا نہیں. ذوالجناح تو آ گیا پھوپھی ابا, لیکن بابا نہیں آیا. سکینہ باہر آئی, ذوالجناح سے متوجہ ہوئی. بچی 4 سالہ ہے لیکن نادان نہیں ہے, حسین کی بیٹی ہے, یہ علی کی پوتی ہے. ذوالجناح کی پیشانی پہ خون دیکھا, سمجھ گئی کہ بابا اب اس دنیا میں نہیں ہے. کہنے لگی یا جواج ابی, اے میرے بابا کے گھوڑے, مجھے پتا ہے کہ بابا تو نہیں ہے, بس اتنا سا بتا دے, امسقی ابی او قتل عطشانا, میرے بابا کو ظالموں نے پانی دیا یا پیاسا سوا کر دیا, یا جو اے میرے بابا کے ذوالجناح. سکینہ کے جتنے امتحان ابھی تک ہوئے ہیں اس سے زیادہ امتحان آگے ہیں, لیکن یہ 4 سالہ بچی بھی. راوی لکھتا ہے کہ 11 محرم کو جب قافلہ جانا چاہتا تھا کربلا سے, بیویوں نے درخواست کی کہ اے ظالموں, اگر ہمیں ادھر سے لے جا ہی رہے ہو تو کم از کم قتل گاہ سے گزارتے ہوئے لے جاؤ. کاروان کا قتل گاہ پہ پہنچنا تھا کہ ساری بیویوں نے اپنے آپ کو گرا دیا. واہ محمدہ, اے نانا یہ قبول کریے, ہذا حسین مرمل بالدماء مقطع الاعداء. اے نانا یہ حسین اپنے نواسے کو دیکھے اپنے ہی خون میں, اے نانا اس کے جسم کے ٹکڑے ٹکڑے. مشکلوں سے زینب نے سکینہ کو روانہ کیا, سوار کیا. اب جو قافلہ چلتا ہے تو جہاں جہاں سکینہ جاتی ہے وہاں پہ بابا تو نہیں ہے, لیکن نیزے کے اوپر بابا کا سر.
پتہ نہیں بچی تمنا کیا کرتی ہوگی کہ یہ بابا کا سر نیچے آ جائے یا چلا جائے، نہیں جانتا میں، لیکن دو جگہ ایسی آئیں. ایک تو ملعون کے دربار میں جب بابا کے سر کو تسلے میں لایا گیا اور ملعون اپنی جھڑی سے مولا کے مقدس، جب زندان میں تھی میری بیوی اور درخواست کی بابا کی، جب بابا کا سر اپنے ننھے ننھے ہاتھوں سے پکڑا، یا اباچا، اے میرے بابا، مجھے اتنی کم سن میں کس نے یتیم کر دیا، من ایتمنی. راوی کہتا ہے کہ بی بی اتنی روئی کہ ایک وقت ایسا آیا کہ ننھے ننھے ہاتھ اور سکینہ ایک طرف گری ہوئی، بابا کا سر ایک طرف گرا ہوا. اے پھوپھی اماں، انا للہ و انا الیہ راجعون. الا لعنۃ اللہ علی قوم الظالمین وسيعلم الذین ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون.
You want to do the interactive session? If anyone stays on, okay. Recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajam.